Barry, this is great work. Okay, where's our canner? I want to welcome Congregation Beth Elohim in Park Slope, Brooklyn. You're on your Tzedek America Civil Rights trip. So this is, I want to say, day 2 of your trip. Day 2, okay? I'm trying to solve before our cantor comes. I think I hear him. Keep on playing, Jeff, because this is You want me to sing? There he is, Robbie. Come on up, man. You don't want me to sing, even though it's written in the Shulchan Aruch? Do you have a horrible voice? You can remove the service leader. 128. You're good.
Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
We turn to 120 with our candlelight blessing.
Before we do, I just wanted to welcome a group joining us from Congregation Beth Elohim in Brooklyn, New York, facilitated by Tzedek America. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. Our candlelighting blessing, 120.
We do double greeting here, especially when the cantor's late.
I apologize. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav mitzivanu lehatlik ner shel Shabbat.
For those who are able, we rise together for our Kiddush, top of page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים.
The top of page 127 together. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if we're a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand and wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act, we care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, and day of peace. We turn to 130 with Psalm 95.
לכו נרנן על אדוני נריע לצור ישענו לכו נרנן על אדוני נריע לצור ישענו נקדם פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו כי אל גדול אדוני ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים אשר בידו מחקרי ארץ ותועפות הרים לו אשר לא הים בהו עשהו ויבשת ידיו יצרו כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו אמר איתו וצאן ידו.
Join us on 138 Lecha Dodi, the pinnacle of Kabbalat Shabbat.
לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together to greet Shabbat HaMelkah.
בואי ושלום עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue together the bottom of page 145. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There's no place on earth without the presence. We stay right here at Chetzi Kaddish 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה, בעלמא תברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen.
We rise together 146.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-dai-dai-dai, 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 yada-dai-dai-dai. ברכו את אדוני, המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai.
We continue together, the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim.
Amen.
On the next page.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח מחוקיך, ונשמח מדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו מאורך ימינו, ובהם נחגה יומם בלילה. באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד, מלכותו לעולם, לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך visharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
The top of page 157 together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Our song of freedom, our Mi Chamocha, is on the next page.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot, oseh bele, Nora tehilot, oseh bele, Adonai meloch leolam ba'ed. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai meloch leolam ba'ed. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai.
161 together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Our Hashkivenu is right here, 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim.
163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Vishamru 162.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et hashambat la'asot et hashambat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השמיעי שבת ויהי נפש.
The middle of page 165 together. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer will not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. For those who are able, we rise together for our tefillah 166.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
The top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal Open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh Shabbat. We continue with our Ritzei on the next page.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel U'tehil ratzon Tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El karov lechol kore'af penei elav hadecha v'choneinu shefoch ruchacha aleinu v'techezena eineinu b'shuvcha letzion Mirachamim Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir Shechinato Letzion
179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make it temperate reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. We stay right here.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a few moments for private prayer.
Yihul ratzon imre fi. Yihul ratzon imre fi. Vehegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri vegoali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromav. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen.
At this moment in our service, we think of those in our community, those especially who are in need of healing of body or spirit. We're thinking of Jeremy Applebaum, Sophia Barry, David Byram, Orit Cohen, Joseph Fleming, Tom Fleming, Cindy Land, Marilyn Leeds, Richard Magnani, Michal Mizuritz, Paul Mosteller, Stephen Muss, Ron Ostreicher, Malkabat Rachel, Jerry Sklar, Tyler Strassner, Pat Thibodeau, Cindy Underwood, Alan Unger, Brenda Weinstein. And before we take names, we think of all of those who have been horribly affected by the wildfires in Los Angeles. And our prayers are with them, especially our colleagues there. And for those who are thinking of a loved one or friend and you wish to share a name out loud, someone who's in need of healing of body or spirit, we invite you to do so either by rising or as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud, and for those names still in our hearts, Amisha Berach, middle of page 371.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Le'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu, Mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, and the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
23 of my colleagues tonight are going to be answering this question: what will we talk about as we return from our 8-day mission in Israel? And before I attempt to answer such a question, I want to first respond with gratitude. I want to thank this Temple family, Temple Emanu-El, from the bottom of my heart for letting me go on arguably the most important trip of my life and also the worst trip of my life. I went to Israel as an ambassador, as a representative of Temple Emanu-El, not as a private citizen, but for me to absorb as much knowledge and experience as humanly possible. Again, this trip was needed, and it's a trip like no other. And so how will I talk about this mission tonight? So the first and most reasonable answer is that one oration, one Devar Torah, one sermon, it would be inherently disingenuous to sum up my 8 days in Israel. I simply can't. And soon after Moshe Shabbat next week, we will have more opportunities through adult education where I can brief the congregation about more of the pratim, more of the details of the trip. I want this sermon tonight to paint a picture about what is happening in our indigenous homeland, the state of Israel. And upon completion of my words tonight, I want us to feel that compassion, that empathy. If you feel like being sad, whatever emotion hits you. But upon completion of tonight, I want this congregation, and frankly all of American Judaism, to be emboldened, to have the strength to write the pages of a formidable Judaism for years to come. Because if we choose to sit this one out, it would be such a sin that I don't know would be forgivable. I want this congregation to know that Israel is in what I consider a perpetual state of absolute uncertainty. If you ask an American Jew how their day is, you'll get a myriad of responses. If you ask an Israeli, regardless of what their miksoa, whatever their profession in life, they are all deeply connected to October 7th and the current war there. It's a state of anger, it's a state of sadness. It's trying to live a life to try to make ends meet while dealing with this war, and especially, and I can't drive this point home enough, it's the fate of the hostages. And I can tell you, after being there for over a week, once the Israelis have certainty of the remaining hostages in Gaza, they can begin to mourn what was taken away from them. If you ask an ordinary Israeli, they know someone who knows someone about the fate of the hostages. The rumors are absolutely crippling the hostage families. And last week at Hostage Square in Motzei Shabbat, the ending of Shabbat, when they petitioned the government for the past 15 months, I can tell you that yellow, the symbol of returning the hostages, is everywhere you go in Israel. Immediately upon arriving in Tel Aviv, before you go to passport control, you are hit with every single picture of a hostage. When you drive on the streets, you see the bring them home signs, the tangibility of fear. It's permeating everywhere. And I want to say this one more time, and I want to say this with humble confidence, that the people of Israel, they desperately need the hostages home, whether alive or murdered, but ready for burial. And the religious minister who just signed off approving the deal saying, I support the deal. To save one life is to save all of the world. And second, how will I talk about this trip tonight? If it isn't even possible, it solidified my Zionism, my absolute love, my unconditional support for the state of Israel, my commitment to strengthen the centrality of the Jewish people, even with such melancholy and anger. We've seen these places on television for the past 15 months. I went to Kibbutz Nahal Oz. I saw the bullets and shrapnel upon these homes where people's lives were utterly taken away from them with mere moments. I've been to concentration camps in Europe, and it was hard for me to feel something because of how long ago it happened. But as I walked on the grounds of the Nova Music Festival and seeing a picture of every single soul, every single kid that was taken away this Saturday morning, I truly felt lifeless. It was a mass murder site that just happened 15 months ago. And this was only solidified even more while going to the car graveyard, which they call it, to seeing the carnage of what Hamas did to so many innocent civilians. Meeting with Yocheved Lipschitz, a hostage who is still fighting to see her husband returned home. We went to Majal Shams in the north. We visited with 3 fathers, all of whom lost their children on the soccer field, one of whom in particular went to the soccer field upon the explosion of the rocket and saw his murdered daughter, who immediately began triaging other children as the only paramedic there. We witnessed the battle cry from Israelis in the north to come back and live in such a beautiful part of Israel. We met with the police department in Sderot. And Sderot is a very unique city that most American Jews don't have on their radar. And for decades, too, a lot of Israelis did not have the city on their radar because it embodies so many Jews who come from Middle Eastern countries. But there was a major battle on October 7th at the police station where multiple police officers risked their lives, those going cancer treatment, to try to save as many Jews as possible. We went to the north. We went to Kibbutz Menara, where one anti-tank artillery round completely caused the absolute destruction of these peacenik kibbutzniks. But here's where we stand. I want to be part, and I want this community part, of a needed rebirth of Judaism that will fuel our engines moving forward. And as I said earlier, we're all going to be authors. And it's what we will do now that will be written in the history books, and only history will judge us what we did during the most pivotal moment in contemporary Jewish life. So here is how I'm going to attempt to fortify our Judaism by framing this conversation. When we visited the north in Kibbutz Menara, and if I'm standing in the kibbutz, right where those doors are is the Lebanese border. That's how close we were to Lebanon. Only a few people lived there who were attempting to rebuild what was destroyed. And here's a quote from someone who's lived there for decades, and I'm going to say this twice. Think of us, join us. This is how we do Tikkun Olam. And I'm going to repeat what she said. Think of us, join us. This is how we do Tikkun Olam. There is a growing fear that the failure of diasporic Jews, especially in this country, that are not truly empathizing with the Jews in Israel and Arab Israelis. I had access to the greatest speakers and scholars in Israel, especially from Dr. Kochet Elohim Levi, who is the leading authority of international law in Israel, an expert in gender-based violence who has worked so tenaciously to brief anyone who would listen to the reports of such violence. Her quote during my meeting, "There is an international system that is working against the Jewish people." And it's not surprising, here we are in Parshat Shemot, when the Pharaoh had so many fears of the Jewish people. In order for him to murder any new Jew, he needed to have consent of the Egyptian people. And that's where our rabbis teach us this is the first form of such hate towards the Jewish people. If we want to know why there are so many false stories about Israel, it's because we are zooming in and we are not zooming out. The greatest journalists in Israel told us that Israel is saturated with so many journalists throughout the world. While there's so few in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Russia, journalists love being in Israel because it causes an emotional response. And two, one day they can be at the Gaza border wearing their Kevlar, and later on that night they'll be in Tel Aviv having a great time at the bars. And so finally, this trip hit me at my last night. At 3 a.m. was our first red alarm, our rocket alert. We slept with our windows open because it was somewhat warm. The sounds of the siren in the hotel room and the red and blue lights was something that I've never experienced before, and to think that so many of Israelis, this has become the norm. But when we went into the stairwell, the 3 floors of the hotel had been occupied by displaced families. And I can tell you, despite our nice accommodations, living in a hotel room for 15 months is something that I cannot truly imagine. They tell us when a siren goes off that we stay there for 10 minutes, but these Israeli families with their small children, it's become so routine and mundane, they wait 3 minutes and go back to bed. So here's what I want us to do at a spiritual level after this trip and as part of this fellowship for the next year, is that Israel engagement must be a top priority for us moving forward. As a temple and as Jewish Birmingham. I want to repeat the quote from the kibbutznik in the north. Think of us, join us, this is how we do tikkun olam. But we're going to do some easy step first. And the first thing that we'll be doing as a temple family is that we'll be adopting a sister Reformed congregation in Rosh Ha'ayin. That will be happening this month or the next. Second, I'm deputizing my educator, Elizabeth Block, that it will be our goal moving forward that we will send at least 2 to 3 students per year to attend Hiller High or Alexander Muss High School in Israel. I want our congregation to send 2 to 3 students per year to semester in Israel. So for those who become a bar bat mitzvah, and this is what I was told, when we give you a certificate from the Grafman Endowment Fund for $250, that is real currency. Cash those coupons in. Third, the world is changing. If you're under 50, you're eligible to go on birthright now. This just changed. So if you know anybody that is Jewish or a quarter Jew that wants to experience a week for free in Israel, that is now 50 years old and younger, I would pounce on it. Third, I'm hoping with the next year and a half, we have a solidarity mission to Israel. If there's one thing that we have heard numerous times by our Reformed colleagues in Israel, is that they need American Jews going to Israel more than ever. They need to feel what they're experiencing. They need to see what they're experiencing, that everywhere you go, there are signs of bring them home. There are pictures of soldiers on benches, walls, graffiti, who have lost their lives in battle. Fourth, this congregation has strong Zionistic roots. And Rabbi Grafman, who's one of the first Reform rabbis in this country to celebrate and endorse the state of Israel and Zionism, when so many of his colleagues and predecessor was against such a move. So I am asking this congregation to urge our board, again, I want us to lobby our board to update our mission statement that affirms that our Zionism and reaffirms our commitment to strengthen the centrality of the Jewish people. I want this congregation to flood the inboxes of every member on this board so that we are a congregation that understands what's at stake. I need your help regarding an Israel Action Committee. Israel can't be about falafel and dancing. It can't be me. It needs to be robust, vibrant, it needs to be spiritual and intellectual. I cannot do this alone. And for us to be authors, I need you. And it's our goal to try to break this divide. That diasporic Judaism and Israeli Judaism, it needs to be fortified, it needs to be like a rock. And 2 weeks ago, I explained that we were able to present gifts on behalf of this congregation, one of whom, it was just by chance, was the head of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt. And the second, I cannot give his name, but this IDF commander was responsible, his unit, of rescuing the 4 hostages in Gaza. He is a copy of the handwritten note when Alabama was the first state to recognize Israel. So the commander who rescued these 4 people will have in his office the document where the people of Alabama understood the need for Israel. It's going to take years for Israel to recover. But I want our community to be on the front lines more than ever. We talk about strengthening the Jewish community, and we talk about making it like a rock. This is our rock. I picked this rock up from the Nova Music Festival. The worst place I've ever been to in my life. And now I am committed more than ever to strengthen Jewish life, to strengthen Israel, to strengthen Jewish Birmingham, not just for them, but for future generations, and above all, this rock is a reminder of my commitment to this congregation and to ensure that God, Torah, and Israel permeates our halls. I want to thank this community once again for allowing me to experience the most pivotal moment of my Judaism, of my rabbinate. And I promise you, moving forward, we will do everything we can to strengthen and to solidify the centrality of Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom. We rise together for Arisa Lenu 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, נגור עלינו ככל המונם. מה אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמן בהיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of I.J. Aarons, Julian Ayland, Leslie Allen, Phyllis Sherman Bass, Sable Eugene Baum, Max Black, Lynn Spielberger Bloomston, Charles Brenner, Eleonora Cherniskaya, Felice Hannon Cohen, John Joseph Coughlin, Louis Dorfman, Carlota Holzer Dorn, Craig W. Dube, Judy Edmonston, Tilly Goodman Engel, Shirley Diskin Friedman, Minnie Freeman, Robert B. Garber, Marguerite Gingold, Harold Goldman, Joan Goldspiel, Arthur Goldstein, Nettie Goodman, Taylor Goodman, Seymour Hoffman, Abe Kaminsky, John Stephen Kaplan, Adolph Katz, John Krentzman, Judith Ladinsky, Leah Hannon Lapidus, Gertrude Lassen, Hyman Leader, Gisela Lightman, Aileen Leva and Elkin Leva, Joseph A. Levinson, Fanny A. Levy, Angela Lichtenstein, David Mazur, Elisa McElroy, Anita Joyce Mishad, Julie Munsky Metzger, Edith Prince, Anne Regensbergen Roth, Helen Freeman Rubens, Doris Rubenstein, Arthur Scharf, Carol Schwid, Betty Vine, and Shirley Weiss, and our heartfelt condolences of those who passed away in this Sholim. Dr. Robert Marcus May, Rosemary Travelute, and Herbert F. Young, Sr. May all their memories forever be a blessing. If it is your custom to rise for the Mortis Kaddish, we invite you to do so. 598. Yikadal v'ikadash shemei rabbah, v'yomad yivrach chirotei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayed kol beit Yisrael, b'gala u'izman kari v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam alamei almaya. Yiparach v'hishabach v'ipa'ar v'tromam v'itnaseh v'itadar v'italev v'talal shmei dekusha
Brichu.
le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata dal min ram yalma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael me'imeru. Amen.
And before we conclude with Hatikva, just a few announcements. I'm going to get us through this. I'm just still horribly jet lagged. So I believe a week from tonight, we'll be at Temple Bethel. Oh, that's in 2 weeks. Okay, I'm already messing up. Okay. Next week, please join me for our first class. We're going to be talking about fascinating, controversial topics in Jewish text. And look out so I can give you an official debriefing that I really can get into the pratim regarding my trip in Israel. Hatikva.
Kol balev afenima nefesh Yehudi homia Fatei Mizrach Kadima, Ein Letzion Sophia, Od lo avda tikvateinu, Hatikma bat shnot alpaim, Liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim.
Shabbat Shalom, and please join us downstairs for Or Orneg.
Good Shabbos.
I was like the senior citizen, so where's Doty?